Right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's class. So, I hope we had a great time. All right. So, let's just jump right into today's class. So, in our last class, we focused on design adaptive interfaces across that's desktop, tablet, and mobile. So, the goal of the lesson was to understand how to create digital products that delivered a seamless user experience across different devices and screen sizes. What we generally did in our last class was basically mostly the theory. So the 80% of it was the theory. But in today's, we started something, but in today's class, we'll be able to finalize what we started to the YouTube to look it up. But if you haven't, I'm just going to do a brief recap of it. So we started by introducing the concept of adaptive interface design, which we said it's to be the practice of designing interfaces that adapt to different sizes, right? Different screen sizes with different devices and also different user contexts while maintaining a consistent and intuitive experience. So I also emphasize that adaptive design is not about making things look smaller, but about rethinking the user experience for each of the devices. So we did also explore responsive design, adaptive design, and also fluid design, and which we happened to know that I've learned that responsive design uses a single flexible layout that adjusts continuously to different screen sizes, while adaptive creates optimized layouts for specific um, devices or breakpoints. And when it comes to fluid design, so that relies on relative sizing, so that elements naturally scaled with available space. So when we look at fluid, we talked about that in fluid we say, oh, this container is going to take like 50% of the space available. So that's what fluid does. And after which we did look at the six principles of adaptive design, which number one is prioritize content that always present content that is most important based on the user goals. We also have progressive disclosure. We also have flexible layouts, consistency, design for context, and also accessibility, which is one of the most important things, right? So that I have to design for everyone because we have people that might have touch problem, readability, contrast. There has to be time. There has to be conditions that meet this. From the class was that great adaptive design is not about making interfaces fit different screen sizes, right? So it's about creating that experience that adapts to user needs, context, and behavior while remaining consistent, accessible, and scalable. All right, so that foundation is what is going to help us continue on our design this today. So let's just move down to Figma as we continue. All right. So please confirm when you can see my Figma screen. Okay, so thank you. So this is where we did stop on our design. All right, so we're just going to continue from here. But first of all, let's try to look at the accessibility issues that we have here. Because if, let's see, if we were to go straight down, I think this is what we have, right? As you go down here, okay, let's wait. So you can see that the home doesn't look that well, the logo well, logo too. So what we could do in this case is let's go back to our design. Hold on. Let's see. So let's head to the prototype. So what I would want to do here is let's just change this to I think on action, and then we are going to change this. Let's use this to be the um the active state of this. That would actually make more sense. Okay, that would make more sense than what we did use. So we could also change the header. Sorry, not the header, the logo. Right, the logo. So it was a text we used. Well, I use an icon for that though. That does not really matter. So let's use white for it. So I think this is perfect. Perfect. All right, so let's see how that looks in real design. Let me click out. So that looks fine. Let's see. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. Responsive. That will not work. Actual side. So I wanted us to see the reaction towards this, but this is not allowing us to. So I'm just going to go ahead and oh, sorry about that. That's my bad. Let's wait while it loads up. Okay, please confirm you can see my screen once again. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go back to the design part of it. All right. So so what the next thing I want to do is on this section, I don't like it when this is usually to the demarcation. So I'm just going to change probably this to 100. Let's take 100. So if we go back to this, so that actually makes more sense than having it full the entire environment. All right. So I just want to make sure that I think we have time to complete this, all right, to make this come out well. So what I would do at this point is going to make this okay. So what I would do at this point is I want to make sure that all the icons we need is available. All right. So think we might also change some things in this. All right. Remember what I said. So the reason why I'm bringing this here is I said something about when you want to bring in an icon, make sure you bring in an icon into the frame so as to get your hands on it. If not, if you should import icons down here, it's going to get lost, right? So let's see. So iconify is what we are using. All right. So let's wait while it loads. So what do we need? We need a when we say verified. So we need verified. So I'm just going to pick, we have to be consistent with, we can use, be, be sure if you're using field icons, then continue with field icons. If you're not using field icons, then continue with what you are using. So you're using outline. So I'm just going to take this. Yeah. So well, we can use that. So I'm just going to put that out here. Let's put that somewhere there. Forget about the, we just need this. All right. So the next thing we need is an address. So this address confirmed to this location is fine. Okay. So what else are we going to look into? Um, so we said, how do we call this? I think we are going to change something here. Okay. So we have background check complete employment, address verified. I just have to be sure of the content we're using. Okay. So for this section, let's say we use what do I call it? We use ownership verified because for landlords, they have to verify their ownership. So we say ownership verified. All right. So for ownership verify, what are we looking at? So we'll be looking at title documents confirmed. All right. So we say title docs. Let's just use confirmed. All right, so we have this, we have this. So for this, it's still verification. So since it's still verification, I wouldn't want to use the same icon. I wouldn't want to use the same icon, but just okay. So we could decide to use something like this. Okay, we could decide to use something like that. So I'm just going to look at an icon that has almost the same property with what we are using. So this is what I'll be using. This is already selected. So I'm just going to take it out there as a component. So employment. So let's see what icon can we use for this employment. Let's see. So that thing is found. Employ. This could work. Anyways, this could work. Or let's say worker. Let's use terminology worker. All right. So this is fine. So I think this works better. So we just have to look for an icon that works pretty well with our design system. Right, so I'll pick this, then select this, and then also take it out there as a component, drop it there. So we have background check, we have employment address, so we have um, for this background check, what do we use for the background check? What icon can we use for the background check? If not, when we say background check and ownership, I think that does one of the same thing. So why not change this to probably two-way reviews? Well, I'm just going to change the when we say ownership confirm criminal background check. No, that's a different thing. Okay, so this is let's change this to the history. But this does not do any. This does not work well with what you want. So we're just going to background. What icon could we use here? Hmm. Anyways, let's just use this for the meantime. We can always iterate. This is broken, so we need an outline. So these are all outline, but I need something in. All right, so we've gotten what we needed. So I'm just basically going to click out yes, and then click on our icon. And then from here, I'm going to type what I need. So for background check, what did we carry history? So we're just going to change that to this. Employment, we used worker. So you're going to pick that out and we are just going to personally do this directly. That's fine. So for address, that's fine. And same for ownership. For ownership, what did we use? Ownership. we use verified. All right, so but this is the verification we use. Background check, employment verified, address confirm. So what did we carry the other one for? The other icon. Anyways, that by the way, but this works well. So this icon is consistent. So I'm just going to select all. Just going to select all, and then over here, this is what we introduced. So if we change that, then that works in all. So let's see what we have. Then while we wait, we're just going to pull this out because then we remove this and then sorry, let's just remove this and add white to it. All right, so let's see what we have here. So everything we replace background check. All right, so everything works perfectly fine. All right, so this works perfectly fine. I'm still having problem with this, but we are going to find a way to work around that. Well, in the meantime, let's look at something else. All right, so let me just pick this outside. I don't want any distraction at the workplace. So I'm just going to, yeah, let's just take that out. I don't think we need that. All right, so let's see. I think the next thing we might want to do is making sure what are the content. Remember what we talked about? We said one of the principles is prioritize content. All right, so as a landlord or as a tenant or whosoever I am, what I want to do is I want to understand why should I choose this platform over getting the real agent, all right, to do the work. So, and this is what your agent does, and this is what we are doing in place of what your agents are supposed to do. All right. So, there are a lot more, but at the meantime, I think we need to um, I'm putting everything, right? Remember, there are some other informations we would have added up here, but we need informations that would trigger users to stay. All right. And number one of the information is background check. I want to know what my landlord is. Has there been any criminal record? If no, yes, that's been cleared. Employment verified. I have to be sure my landlord um is not depending on myself of my on my rent payment address confirm etc etc. All right, so that has its own work. All right, so the next thing I might want to do next is I might want to tell users the reason, the process for which they have to use this platform. All right. What is the process that they can use this platform? That's how it works. Okay. So how does this work? But at the meantime, we could want to include some other information. All right. We could want to include some other information. So we just have to sort out what information might we want to place out here that would interest the users, right? What information might we want to do? So we could say, let's talk about the product itself. That is, let's talk about Homely, right? So we could talk about Homely. So how do we proceed about that? I'm going to, in this process, I'm going to use something, one of the tools that Figma just introduced in, and it has been perfect. That's been wonderful. All right. So we are going to look into that together. Okay. So, all right. So I'm just going to come here and then change this to desktop. All right. Just to have that frame size. And I think 700, 800 might be fine. But so let's use 800 here though. Let's use 800. All right. So what do we need? So for this section, Let's look at, I'm just going to use a rectangle for here. So this is how I want it to be. I want to have an image at this end, and then we'll have our text at this end. So how I like doing my things is I like making it this way so that I can now see how it works before I start implementing it. Remember your audience, that's um your users. There is how we users do it. Alright, so I think they read from the right to the left, if I'm not mistaken. So in a Z format. Okay, so that's how they read. So I would want to see how this looks first before I start implementing it. So I'm just going to bring this out here, align it, and then go to my review and see how it looks like. So while we wait while it loads, so let's see. And I think it is fine. All right, so the next we could have it towards this end. All right, so we will proceed with this. So I was going to take this out, and well, I don't think we needed to do that, but that's fine. We already did that, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove everything inside here, and then rename this to about. Okay, so let me see. Did we rename this? Oh yes, why choosers? So we want to talk of homely. All right, let's talk about homely. So let's go ahead with that. All right, so what do we do? Right, so let's get a text for which we are going to use for this. But at the meantime, let's get our image ready first. All right. So remember we talked about grid system. So let's just introduce grid system here. So it is being called layout guide. Um, it's being called layout guide. So now how do we bring that in? We just come to this plus and then we select what type of grid we are going to use. Personally, for when it comes to website, I just go with columns. Generally, personally, use grid too. Right. So this is just okay. So stretch. Stretch is fine. So we'll be asked what is the margin we're using. So I'm using and then I love using 24 here. That's the spacing between how we want our content to be. Right, so your count here could be however you want it to be. So you could use 12, you could use whatever you want to use. So I personally use 12. All right, so we could also create this, all right? Sorry. We could also add this to be our style, all right? We could also add it as a style. So we could create style. So this is our style. So we could just allow it to be that way. All right, so if you remove it, then if you come back here, we see grid, then we can just automatically add that up. Okay, so this stretches, this moves, then you take it down. So why it is in stretches is because if we take this down, 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 it's still going to stretch with it. So what we are using 800 here, so let's maintain that. So all right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to bring, I was using a rectangle first, but that's not what we'll be using. So what is the rectangle going to do is going to give me a line of how I want this to be, how I want it to be aligned, how I want it to be. So let's just take this to, sorry, not 100, 1000. Okay, so there's a reason for that. I want to have enough space for this, then I can still go back and remove it as I want. So if I should duplicate this and then take this down to this end. All right, so this looks fine, but this is going to be a text, so there has to be a breathing space between them. All right, so but well, we could use here, but that's going to be small, so we're going to use something like this. All right, so I'm just going to right click and then I'm going to say frame selection. Then just going to click inside and then remove the box. Well, we could just fill this up and let it be. that's not really what matters. So we could duplicate this and take this outside. So I want to use this as a measurement for what I want to do. All right, so I'm going to put this in a different frame entirely because this is going to act like my background. So I'm going to bring in a circle. So, but before I bring in a circle, I'm just going to come to what this section that is called draw. All right, so I'm just going to click it and then let's get our shape ready. So I'm just going to click on O on my text or my keyboard, or you can come down here. So I'm just going to add this up. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this towards this end and then use my shift, right, and expand that, then duplicate this again, right, duplicate. So that's fine. I'm just going to put this up together and then with my shifts, I'm still going to duplicate this to meet. Then I'm going to duplicate this. All right. Is that fine? No, hold on. So let's see. Just going to select here, press shift and then duplicate and then move this down and then do the same thing, do the same thing, do the same thing. So we're having 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that should be fine. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anyways, we're going to use this. All right, so there's a problem here. This has moved towards the side. So I'm just going to delete that out. We didn't align that properly. Okay, I think that's aligned properly. So instead of, I'm just going to select that and then duplicate and then align this properly. And this looks not aligned to, is it? Mhm. Okay, so do that one more time, but I'm going to take this side out. This still looks not aligned as we want it to, so I'm just going to select this and then take it down towards the side and then manually select this and think that's fine. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this access another frame. So I'm going to click on um, click outside. So you're going to click on any of these and then click on this edit object. All right. So anyway, so let's select all the. Just going to select everything inside and then click on edit objects. All right, then I'm going to come into more and then click on shape builder. And then this is what I want to do. What did I select on shape builder? Okay, so the reason why this is not working is I'm going to show us why this is not working. So this is why you should always be careful while you are doing this. This is going to work in some. All right, so you can see that this works in this, but it doesn't work with this. This might work, no, it doesn't. So this might work, and this will not work, but this and this will not work. Okay, so we are going to delete this and then do it again. The reason why this is not working is because our shapes were not entangled with what it was supposed to be. You can see that it's only this section that has worked because what we had, the shapes touched each other's. All right, so that's one of the things you need to be careful of while doing this. So what I'll do is I'm just going to take this out and then let's go back to our design mode, and then I'm going to take this up directly, like, so I'm going to, let's bring this out here again. But in this time, I'm just going to remove the fill, add a stroke, all right? All right, so let's go again. So we'll go back to our draw mode, and then I'm going to click on 0, and then we're going to have this, then duplicate. So this, you can see, I had to remove it so that we can see how this is at this end. So let's see. All right, so this is aligned properly. This is also aligned properly. So I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5. Anyways, we could use 5 here. So I'm just going to click on my shifts and then expand this. That's fine. So if I click on alternate and then drag, we don't want to see that space. Duplicate again, duplicate again, duplicate again, and duplicate again. That's fine. This would do. All right. So I think this is as perfect as we might want it to be. All right. So what I'll do is I'm going to remove this frame entirely. And then this is what we want. I'm just going to click on edit and then move down here and say shape builder. So if we select this, you can see that works well. Select this, that works well. Select this, that works. Select this, select this, select this, select this, and lastly select this. So you can see as that work perfectly. Why? Because the images, sorry, yeah, the objects itself touched each other. So that's one of the things you need to be careful about, or one of the things you should look out for. Okay, so I'm just going to click outside on this. All right, I'm just going to click outside. All right, so when I do that, so I'm just going to come to flattened and flatten this. All right, and once I'm done with that, I'm going to come to simplified vector. And what I want to do is I'm just going to remove it entirely. You can tweak it as you want to. All right, that's up to you. So you can just remove it entirely, or you can keep it here, and that still works too. All right, and that I'm done. Click OK. Then come to this section, and then you would want to tweak it as you would like it to be. So I would use, let's say, -5 here. You can do it as you want to, however you want to. -10, that still works if that works for you, right? So -8. I don't want it to have that so much gap. All right, so we'll deal with this. I love this. So I'm just going to click on OK. So you can see how that shape is. All right, so now what I would want to do is I'm going to come to Unsplash. That's where I get my images, and that's where we have good images. And then I'm going to come to, I'm just going to say house and wait for it to load. So I'm just going to click on this and then let's pick this. This looks nice. Right. So you can see how that is, how that works, and that's very perfect. Okay, so you could have strokes if you want to. So you could add strokes, increase it, however you want to. That is still up to you. All right. So if I was to add stroke, then I'm going to use, let's say, for border, I'm going to use, let's say, primary, and then I could increase it to whatever I want to. This is where you can tweak it to have what curve do you want it to have, but it will not be visible in this form. So we could just take that out, and this is fine as we want to. So I could just take this and then press to replace. All right, so we now have that here, sorry. So I'm just going to use alternate V. And let's see if that works. Alternate V, right? So that centers it. Anyways, we can always change that later. All right, so this is what we have. Just going to delete this and then take this out. We don't need this for now. And so I need to get a text from maybe somewhere, and we are going to let's see what text I prepared for this. So we are going to talk about this particular company, about this particular product. So I'm just going to come and then let's see what we have here. So just to be consistent, I'm going to do this and then take this towards this area. And this is not an auto layout. So let's go back to our design mode. Sorry, we're in draw. So that's why we're having that weird. Yeah, very weird. So what I like to do here, I like to remove it because trust me, your users are not going to see that you have an 8 pixel that is not making it aligned well properly. All right, they're not going to see that. So I'm just going to take this towards here and then click inside and then change it to fuel container. So what we're going to do is going to be about homely. So, but this is not the size we're supposed to use for this. So we're going to make it more bolder. So H2 is perfectly fine for this. And then we're going to change this text to heading. And I can also duplicate this instead of just going ahead to pick up then select the text and then change this to body. All right, so for body, we have body large, which is exactly what we are going to use. So let me bring up the text and then put it out there. All right, um, so we're going to say, so finding a space shouldn't feel complicated. So this is how it is going to be. So just going to delete this and you can see how that comes up, that feeling. All right. Only simplify step. Personally, when I generate this info, I don't like this being inside. Right. So you can always read through your text to see if that works. Only connect, blah blah blah. All right. And so you can focus because only it is place where okay, so I should create this out, then press enter. Well, that's again to the sentence. Anyways, I love when we have the type of text in um yeah the spacing there, but that's not what we need. So I'm just going to use this probably 24. 24 was looking a little bit weird. Yeah, it was. So we're going to use this. So you can see that this is too long for what we wanted. So we used 1,000, so we're just going to reduce this to 800 as we wanted to. You can see that this has congest. So what I like to do is I don't like going directly reducing this because you can see what is shrinking. All right, that's not how you want to. And you don't want to also, okay, well, does that work? I think that works too. But that would have been fine. All right. So what I like to do is you could press your shift and that is going to maintain that for you. Or you could also use your scale by pressing K. And then if you use your K, automatically everything scales up together. You don't need to press up anything at all. All right. So to avoid decimal, I'm just going to use my shift to make sure that is aligned properly. And then we're going to take this to the left, sorry, to the right. You can also expand it a bit just to cover up to this space. All right, so yeah, there we go. And I think we could also put this together in our layout and then expand this towards this end. And that text does not look neat. So this is fine. And also, I think this spacing is giving me a little weird feeling. You can always change your spacing, right? So we'll look into that again. We'll look into that again. So for our 20, I think 32 is just fine. 38 might still be fine. Yeah, depending on how you want your spacing to be. So what I think 32 is fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and change that because when we look at the responsiveness, it might affect us one way or the other. So let's expand this and then we are going to go to our map, not map responsiveness. And then for our 20, so I'm just going to change this at once. 32, 32, this also body 20, 32, and 32. Right, so let's remove that. So if I should come here and then just go to let's say body, this body is what we're using line height 32. So that still remains because that is what we um put in for that. So if I click here and then click here, then way that on is a little bit weird. All right, so this is just fine. So let's remove our grid system. Sorry. Let's remove our grid system just to see how that looks. And this is exactly what we have, but this is not aligned, is it? It's not. So I'm just going to align that and then put that in an auto layout and do that entirely, put it in an auto layout and put this to our breakpoint. No, not really. My bad. I think it's what we call it was padding, right? So that's fine. So I'm just going to cut it and then come to this section and then paste it. Interesting. What did we have? How did that happen? 1440. I don't know how that happened though, but something we could fix. And so I'm just going to use this as auto. All right, so because that is going to fix that out. All right, so we're going to define that when we're when we are working on the responsiveness. Sorry, 1, 2. So 1440, why is that happening that way? All right, so let's align that. All right, so that works perfectly fine. So we could also use this as page, and I want this to be separate, so we use this as white. So let's see how that looks. All right, so another thing we could do here is let's try to be creative a bit. All right, so let's change this to say black, and let's change the color to our text to on action. So I don't think, did we? Okay, so let's use white. And oh, interesting. So we didn't change this. Okay, so I want to use a separate thing for this. So let's use this for an action. All right, so let's see how that looks. Okay, so this gives that night view and it complements this, it complements our background image that we used here, but we're having a problem. The problem is this border we introduced. So it's fine, but it's not giving what we want. So if we remove it and then, or we could probably use a white here. So if we use white here, I think that is perfect. That's just fine, but I also want to tweak it a bit that probably going to have something like 2 because we don't want it to be that shiny, right? We don't want it to come out that much. So I think we can go with this. All right. So we might also have another section that could talk about what we do. All right, we talk about what we do, which could be for tenants, we find for landlords, and the likes of it. Personally, I like using because that's a very it's a very interesting, actually, it's a very interesting what people might actually want to see, right? What they might actually want to see. So it's one of the things we might want um um we might want users to see, right, when once they come into the platform. So how do we go about that? Okay, so I think there's also something we did wrong here. So just going to select this and select body. We're having medium here, regular, and so that's fine. So this, just align that to our header. And let's see, let's give it a bit of power. Let's give it a bit power, right? So that is just as we want it to. So I think just to be consistent with this, we might also decide to generally use a dark background on this. But anyways, let's see how that comes up to be. So I'm just going to duplicate this and then take it towards this end. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap because we can't have right content on this. So we're going to have right, left, right, left, right, left. So how I would want this to be is going to be different though. So what I want to do is I might, let's not delete that. I might just put this to be, I'm going to remove this and then put this to be 0. And so not really. Anyways, all right. So I would want to have a different shape here. All right, I want to have a different shape. So let's see how that goes. So anyways, let's see. So let me remove this, the layout, and then add a white background to this. And then on this section, I'm going to text on. It's going to be header, and this is going, sorry, not header, this is going to be header. Okay, and this is going to be, my bad. I click that out, and this is going to be, anyways, we're going to still work on that. So at this point, I'm not going to use a top, I'm going to use a center arrangement for this. Okay, I'm going to use a center arrangement for this, and what I'm going to call this is going to be, um, let's say we're going to work with tenant first. Okay, we're going to work with tenant first. So I'm just going to say find your perfect home at this end. And this is too big. This is not going to work at this stage. All right, so we're going to reduce this to probably something like H4. Yep. All right, so what I'll also do here is I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, and I'm going to put these two in an auto layer because they're going to work together to give me what I want. Then probably let's just remove it entirely. 100, okay. Hope I didn't do mistake there. So let's just make it there. So over here, I'm going to try to be creative here. All right, so I'm going to take this probably to the least I could have. So that's this. And this is going to be in a cap locks. All right, so this is going to be a cap locks, and I'm going to call it for tenants. Sorry, that's my bad. For tenants. All right. Hold on. All right. Did I spell that correctly? I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Tenant. Yep. Is that correct? Oh, I see. Tenant. Okay, so I think this is. Okay, so I would also want to change this to a more kind of compelling. So for tenants is find your yeah, find your perfect home. So we're going to give it a write-up. So we're going to say browse verified um rental listing, blah blah blah. So just going to check this. I'm going to reduce this to probably 56. and then we're going to press this here. And so this is what we have for this. All right. So this is what we have for tenant. Browse your, and then your perfect home. All right. So, yeah. All right. So, I think this is fine. So, what? Okay, so for this section, I would want to have a different design, but we're still going to use our shape builder to work that out. So how do we go about it? Hold on, let's back. All right, so let's see. So let's have this shape, this size. How would happen to what I even did is forgotten what I did there. No, that's not it. Right, so all right, so I'm just going to put this in a frame, right, and that's the frame. I'm just going to copy this outside. All right, so what I just did there is I want to have that dimension, so but I'm just going to remove this out. So let's put this in a frame, and this is what we have. So let's add the stroke here just for the measurement sake, and then go back to our draw. Right, in this point, I'm just going to play around with shapes. So we're going to get our circle again. And at this point, I just want 3 circles. Please remember it has to touch. If not, it's not going to work. So I'm just going to use this. Sorry. Press your shift and then expand that. I'm not going to make it that big. It looks too big though. So let's reduce it. That looks weird. All right, so this is fine. Is it? So you can just take that a little. Okay. Uh, Anyways, so that's all. So the next shape I want to have is I'm going to duplicate this and then take this down here, make sure it touches, and then expand this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to not appearance. I don't think that works here though. I'm going to put this in. This is going to be like a rectangle. It's going to be like a rectangle. So I'm just going to use this to get that. Let's just take this out, and then a rectangle. Make sure it touches. All right. I just want to be sure you're following this. Let me see something. I want to expand this. To expand this, do this. I do this. Will I be shown that? So let's see. Take this. So that shows that this is that. And I take this down here. So that shows that this is that. So roughly what I'm going to have is that I'm going to have a rough, yeah, a rounded corner. You could have it full. Go have it full. So I'm just going to duplicate this one and make sure it touches both end, duplicate again. All right, then duplicate. This is going to be towards this end. All right, so this has to come down and touch this definitely. And I'm going to duplicate this towards this other end. And it has to be touching. And this is going to be duplicated towards this end. Make sure they are touching. All right, so this is basically the shape I want to use for this. Just going to delete that entirely, and then let's see. All right, so you can see what happened there. This was not inside that, but now that we have removed that, we now have this inside. So we can see that this is not how we want it to be. It's supposed to be only touching on the surface, not inside. If not, it's not going to work. So we will manually do this. We have to manually do this. Okay, so let's see that again. I think and we are having a um bit of a challenge here, and I'm wondering why. Because I don't feel there is any. I'm wondering why that is. The shapes look complete, except we had a little um disarrangement or dimension problem with this, because this is what changes this. So one way we could fix this is we will have to take this outside, and I'm going to put this in a frame. I'm going to press Ctrl Alternate G, that puts that in a frame. And I'm going to bring out a rectangle at this point, because this we are using. So I'm just going to remove the shape entirely. It is an eclipse, sorry. I think we did a mistake there. So if I should expand that, you're having that expanded again. I'm just going to undo that and then bring in, hold on. And this could be a rectangle. No, it's not. We're having two rectangles here. All right, so this is the image of this one we're working with. And just take it outside of it so as to see what we are working with. Then I'll click on R to get the rectangle. Then just to be sure, right, there we go. So, all right, so this is what I need. This is what I need. So, and this is the frame. That's not what I need here. Let's delete that. Why is that acting as a frame? That's a frame. That's not what I need. So let's put an arrow again, and I'm going to just select this way. Let's see, make sure, right? That is, you can see when I go to where it is, you can see the red, and that's where it's supposed to end. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, so we've gotten what we wanted. I'm just going to delete this and then have this. And we're going to make this full rounded. And well, cut this, Ctrl X. Does that way? Okay, yeah, it does. Good. Then we're going to press to replace. All right, so I think we can solve this problem with this. Just going to push this up here, push this up here, push this up here, make sure it's aligned, push this up here. Let's delete this. Okay, let's allow it. Copy, paste to replace. Let's see that. Then let's be sure this aligns. This aligns. And this also aligns. So just to be sure, we select it, you can see how these are linked perfectly. They are linked perfectly. All right, so just going to come to this and then come to more and click builder. So how do I want to build this? That's basically up to me. All right, so that's how I want this to be. Okay, so if I click outside, let's see how that shows. Let's see how that shows. And then, let's do that first. And let's join this with this. Okay. Then if I join that with that, I'm going to also probably join this with this. Nope, I don't want this to join. Don't want that to come. Join this with this. Okay, and I'm going to probably. I'm wondering why this is giving me that rough edge. Another way I could do this is I could move this, do this. But in the meantime, let's just click outside and see what's happening there. Yep. Sorry, but it's not giving me exactly the image, the design that I want. It's not giving me the exact design that I want. But we can also tweak something out of this. We tweak something out of this. So let's see. Hmm. No, nothing. Sorry. What happened there? So I did not select any. Hmm. So we could do it this way, and I could also do it this way, and probably this way. So let's click outside and see what shape we have here. All right, so I think we could go with this. So I'm just going to select all this and then click on flattened. Then click on this first one and then take it out. Give it a bit of a shape. I think what I wanted to do would have worked. So let's just undo this. Because I'm just looking at something just now. Click here, click more shape, then this. Okay, so that's going to work. And this to this. No, I don't want this to join. Again, this to this, and probably this to this. So I then just going to cancel this and then press on flattened. And then click this and then let's tweak this as we want it to be. Okay. We could definitely allow it to be that way though. We could. Not compulsory that we might hold on. Yeah, not compulsory, we might do that to flattened. But I might want to have space here. Okay, I might want to have a space here because I thought we joined this together, didn't we? Anyways, but that's minus 10, that's what we use. So we're going to use probably like minus 5 here. We don't want it to be that. Okay, so anyways, you can always come up with, you can be creative as you want to, but this is what we came up with, and we are going to deal with that. Okay, so that's what we're going to use. So let's go back to our design, and so that we don't waste much time here, and then click on our vector and then paste to replace. Going to center align that to what we have, and so still the same thing. We're going to go back to our on splash, and also what do we have? What do we have? So we could type home, and remember we said perfect home. So we need to get an image that gives that home vibes. All right, so let's get an image that gives that home vibes. Anyways, that was not free perfect. So we could pick that. And let's take this out and then delete this. And we're going to expand this. This is not going to be a long one though. Oh, we forgot to do something, but let's just paste it here, right? And I'm going to, no, let's not attach that to a breakpoint. So I'm just going to come here and attach, okay, we've not converted it to an auto layout yet, so we'll convert that by pressing Ctrl or Shift A, sorry. Then we'll come here and then we'll call it padding, then we enter, and what else do we need to do? I think that's just that. Okay, so we have about homely, and then over here we talked about, so this could be center aligned. I don't think, let's just use this. Then I'm having a feeling that this is just way too uh okay, so that's that, and I'm just going to duplicate this. I'm not going to change a lot of things again. Yeah, so this is going to be something like 16. And I'm just going to move this towards this end. And we're going to change this image, right? Let's just use a 79. So let's just change this image and then let's call it house. So for landlords will want something classic. So we'll pick this. No, not here. Oops. Undo, 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 undo. How did I? I'm just going to remove that. Yep, so that's what we wanted. But this is giving so empty vibes. And it's looking more of a sky. So now we would also edit this is we could come here and then come to crop and then move this up and probably use your shifts to scale this as you want it to. All right. So this is another option we could do just to have that content or just to have that feeling that we want to have. All right, so let's wait for this to load up and then let's see how this looks. All right, so I look empty, but that's fine. So we remember we talked about consistency, but when we talk about consistency, it does not necessarily mean that that's the content that we have here has to be consistent. Okay, that's not what it basically means. That's not what it basically means. So I think um I'm just having a problem with this. So I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to use one of the things I like, one of the plugins I love. All right, and that plugins I'm going to call it is called Blobs. Right, so this is the plugin. I'm just going to run it, and we are going to try to create a perfect a perfect shape to get what we want. All right, so we're just going to get the perfect shape to get what we want. You can just always tweak it. So before now, this was all usually free. You could create as many blob as you wanted, but trust me, because of the um the use of it, right? People have used it now, and so there has to be a price for it. So you can always tweak it as you want it to be, as you want it to go, and tweak it, tweak it, tweak it, tweak it. I think I just need something simple, right? Something that would match towards that end. Something like this is right. Let's work on the uniqueness. So let's see if this does something for us. Just pick this. Let's use this instead. All right. So I can expand this using our shift again. So I'm just going to cut this out and then come to this section and then press to replace. Let's remove this. No, hold on. Enter. I need this paste to replace. I just need that. Um, so you're going to use our shift just to get that size that we need. Okay, so we could possibly just tweak it. We need it to have that feel. Okay, so this looks fine. All right, so let's go back to our icon, sorry, on Splash to get what we need. On Splash, so house. Anything you can do at this point. Okay, so we just need something to go ahead with the design. Okay, so this looks small, so we could also always expand that. Okay, we could always expand that to have that perfect Right. So okay, so that's also ways we could do that. I feel this would have been perfect if it were to be hold on. I just like to this eight, so I'm just going to put these two in an auto layout and then move this up, and there we go. I think this is perfect. This way it is perfect. Just that you're having in proportion in respect to the text. Okay, so that's what we could work on. The image, yep. Respect to the text, the image there is way too big, just way too big. So in terms of proportion, that's one of the things you should always look out for too when you're designing. All right. All right, so we've done that. I'm just going to remove it from auto layout, the two of them, and then just use this. So this is going to be set up for land tenants, it's going to be for landlords, landlord. So for landlords, I'm just going to bring in the text. So it's going to be telling the landlords to list with confidence. All right. We are missing something here, but anyways, we're going to come back to that. And this is going to be um this is going to be this. Just going to paste this here. Then this is going to have this. So rich house, rich qualified tenants, faster gravity. So this is going to have um all communication in one place, spend more time, and the rest and the rest. All right. So and this is this. So the next section I want to have is I don't want to keep more don't want to keep us on this for a long time. So I'm just going to copy this and then so that came out here. And just to be consistent, just copy that and then come towards this section and then put it here. All right, so I'm just going to add this together and then take this from 70 to probably 48. 48. That still looks in the text. All right, so that's you. When people come, they know, oh, yes, this has to do with this, so 24. All right, so that's perfect. All right, so I also usually like this to be a little lengthy. All right, so one way I could do that is I'm going to put this in a different auto layout and then put this in a field container. And then for this, I am going to, if I say field container, that's how it is going to look like. Okay, that's how it's going to look like. So what I would do here is I'm going to come here and then towards this section, I'm going to split this and then for this section, that's what I'm going to be working with. So I could take this to be 88. So that's how this is going to work. Right, just going to take that out. So I could do 88 times, sorry, 88 times 2. Right, so that's so plus we still cut it because I want to go with plus 24. That still does not work. Plus 56. Anyways, we could just go with this. But anyway, yep. Okay, so for tenants for this, so what else would we want our users to see after reading about what home is all about and what each tenant we can help them achieve and what landlord we can help them achieve? So the next section we could have is I would have said I would have said what do you call it? I think why choose this currently was already been put displayed out today. All right, so it was already displayed out there. So one of the things we could also add is where we tell them yes how it is being used. Okay, where we say how it is being used, right? So the process. So how do we want to display that? So the process could be displayed in so many ways, blah, blah, blah. So let's see. We could adapt this method for process too. We could adapt that method and, oh, sorry, I think we messed up here a bit. So this is going to go this way and this is going to come this way because we're moving this direction. All right, so let's see. So we're just going to create duplicate this. Sorry, we've already done that here. And to see how we would want to display the process. Right, so we could have different methods of how we design it, but I'm going to go with a straight version of it. Okay, just having racking through my brain now to think of a design for that. Okay, we could do something like this. Hold on, let's take this out. So we could do something like this. All right, so let's say we have a center alignment and we have this. I'm just going to probably do a sketch here. Then we have this, we have this, and we have this. So let's take for example, it is two processes or four, sorry. Then we have something like this over here. All right, so let's take for example, this is how it is. So let's see how that looks like on the design. So 24. Let's see how that looks like on the display design. Hmm. Okay, so we could work with that. We could work with that. All right, so just going to take that out and let's work with this. So I'm just going to call this process. I'm going to call that process. And in as much as I don't want to waste time, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring this into this section. All right, so just going to go do some tweaking to it. Right, so this is going to be center alignment, and this also is going to be center alignment. All right, so just going to take it up, and so this is going to be something like I'm going to call it progress. Sorry, process. All right, and this is I'm going to call it from search to signed without picking up your phone. Let's imagine customers are using without having to pick up your phone. So this is going to be from search to sign without picking up your phone. Search to sign without picking up your phone. So that's going to be the process of which we're going to use this. So I don't really care about that. Okay. So let's just allow this to be because of yeah, because of so we're going to have like four steps, right? So it's going to be like four steps. As we do have here, so how would the content look like? So please let's just take this out. I don't think we really need that. All right. So how would the process be like? And that's one of the things you need to consider. Yeah, still racking my brain to see. What I'm looking at is what shapes are we going to use to actually make it look neat, all right? So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in a frame, and then this is going to be like a perfect square. So let's use 150 by 150 here. And this can be subject to change. So I'm just going to roughly pick up a take, sorry. So here we're going to have 48 at this step shape size. So we need that's going to duplicate that and then duplicate and duplicate till we have full this. Then we're just going to center align it. So let's say sorry. So we're going to just reduce from here, then add that. So I'm just going to remove it from auto layout once more and with this here, so 135, I think that is reasonable. All right, so I'm just going to duplicate this section and then take it down here. And we're going to change this from H to something like H6. All right, and this also we change to H6 is going to be line height. So from here, what are we going to do? So we're going to say verify once. So that's going to be one of the first steps to doing this. So just going to put this in an auto layout and put this to in an auto layout, change this to 0. And just going to duplicate this once more. And at this point, we're going to change this to body. And for our body, we're going to use body size medium. And this is going to be regular, right? So that's this. And then for our body, body medium is going to be this. All right, so for our verified ones, what is this? Like, it's going to tell us. So what we also would have done here is to say, oh, for what's the process for download? What's the process for what? I think over at this point, this section is going to be what is going to change that process. All right, that's what is going to change that process. So I'm just going to paste this. Now, notice what happened there that it changes directly. That's because in at this point, what we had here was that it was sorry. What we have here is because this isn't, if we check here, this was in all until I changed it to fill, but that will not still change. Why? Because the main container that carries it is in fixed, so we have to change it to fill container. And we have to note that we have to expand this. So this has to be not in field but fixed because we don't want this image to move. So, but this has to move, all right? So this is what we have. Once that has been done, all right, so I need a space here, but over here, this is not going to carry a space that much. So put it 0 because this already carries 8 pixel and this also carry 8 pixel. So that's 16 in total. So we could probably take to remove one of it. So this should be 0 and could only have 8 pixel separating it. And this is carrying 8 plus there's an 8 here too. So that's 16 pixels separating this from this. One of the best things you can also do is you just remove it entirely. So as not to confuse your developers, just remove that entirely and then add it towards here, which is going to be 8, and here is going to be 16. All right, so that works well. So I'm just going to roughly delete this out and bring in, say, let's see, I'm going to bring in an icon because we need it to be an illustration for this. So just going to paste it inside and center align it. And this was a frame, so I'm going to put it in auto layout. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this in fill container, and this is also in fill container. But that's not going to work. Why? Because our auto layout, this section has already gotten a hold of what we the space we need. So we change this to 24, and then sorry, and then also change this section to 24. You can see that that works perfectly for us, but that image there is too big, so we could add plus let's say 16 and that's 40. So if we do the 17 to this section, that looks fine. So what we could do here is we could change this icon to white. All right, so what I like to do is I'm going to turn this to a component and then take it out, okay, duplicate it, and then take this section out. All right, so put this out here, then duplicate these, put them in an auto layout, and put this out, and then duplicate dd. All right, so we needed a full section of it. So what the spacing here is what is making this look with this. So we're going to use something like 24 a section. So if we should check that, it's going to give us 100. So let's put that out here, and I hope we are following, by the way. All right, so here we could try to play with some different surfaces. Well, unfortunately for us, we have few surfaces here. I don't think we've already learned how to do the switching of the switching. So what we are focusing on majorly now is going to be the responsiveness. So we could use any of these. All right, we could use any of this. Um, this image messages can always change, so we could just use this. All right, so all right, we just need to arrange that to make sense. It's a bit of sense. So having this here, I think that makes more sense. Yeah, I think this is fine. So another thing we could do is to have a line here that leads to, oh yes, from this to this, that's what you do, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. So let's just bring up our text into this. All right. So sorry. So we can see what just happened here. We want it to be top aligned, not center alignment. So we need to change this to top alignment so that if any text comes lower, it just has to maintain that. Okay. So at this place, we are going to change this to lists or search. All right. So yeah, we're going to change this to message direct. All right, so middleman chatting app. That's one of the things we are going to have, and this is going to be grow and is signed. All right, so and this is going to be this. Sorry. All right, so we have this already. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it in an auto layout and then assign our padding to this. And we're going to work on the arrangements later. That's the padding. All right. So this is not aligned center. So this is how we're going to align to the center, and this is field. It's also going to be to the center. All right. So if we should, we could do our page. But that doesn't really matter though. So we could try to use white here, just to make it stand out. So let's see that. I don't think I'll be designing all the sections that, oh, sorry. I don't think we might be designing all the sections that we want because of time. So I think I'm just going to stop here. Okay, I'm going to stop here and then I'm going to look at because the major concern of today's class was basically the responsiveness, which I think we did to some extent when we were introducing it. Okay. So one of the things I would have loved to have here was going to be maybe the product page. And so the question is, I think we should do that. We should have that, right? So that this will actually make a lot of sense. Okay. This will actually make a lot of sense. So let's add that to it. All right, so this particular section is not going to be something that is going to take a lot of time. All right. So this is, I think this is the component to duplicate it. Sorry. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this because this is what I want. So at this point, we want to do a card. I don't think I'm going to have that time to do, we're going to have that time to do work on the footer. So we are going to have a card. So this is going to be the last thing I'm going to do. So I'm just going to um, use this to work on that. Okay. So what you're going to call it is you're going to call it I think verified listing in Lagos, or because yes, we're working with Lagos availability. Okay, so that's what we're going to call it. And how we are going to do it is how we are going to do this is that we are going to, let's see, um, we are going to, let's see how we want that to be done. So let's just take this outside because I might use it. So for our cards, I want it to be 3. Okay, I want it to be 3. So I'm just going to duplicate this and then duplicate this. Or we could have 4 though. We could still have 4. So I'm just going to click outside and then duplicate this. Anyways, so I'm just going to click here, click here, click here, put it in an auto layout just to, this is not going to, this is working outside. I'm just going to remove that and then click on this and put that inside. Right, so if I should put that back in here, so this is what we have. So I'm just going to say, sorry, just going to say, let's say 1440 minus 200. And then that is what we have. And I'm going to select all and then say field container so that that aligns that well for us. And I'm going to look at the spacing we'll be using. So we could be using 24 spacing, which looks a bit small. So let's say we remove this. So I think let's go with 3 display alone. 3 displays perfect. So we have enough room to display what we want to show to our users. So if I to click on this, then click on this, and then say fill container, so that fills the container. So we're going to have this as a text, and then probably have something here that looks like let's say view all. Okay, so that might carry us to another page. So let's take this down here and see how that is going to look like. All right, so yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. Move that by 8. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. If that's fine. All right. So let's see. Yeah. So we could first just remove this and then make it light color. Something we could switch between themes. Sorry, between light mode and dark mode. But that's by the way. All right. So this is how we are going to make this to be. So I'm just going to just move it from here and then call this listing. So let's duplicate it because we want to use this as reference. And I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to bring this into this section here. And at this point, this is where it is going to be 121 there. Okay, thank you, there mistake there. Remove this. So this is going to be this alignment, and we did move this to center alignment. So this is going to change, and then I'm going to have this this is going to be as available now. Okay, so it's going to be like what is available at the moment, right? So I'm going to say available now. So I could probably did we since we did not, just to be consistent, since we did not put this in a frame, I don't think there's any need to do that here. Except that this section is actually calling, so we could do something like put this in an auto layout and then make this to be hawk and make this to also be hawk and then put this towards this end, and then at this point we need 16 at this point, and this we have 8, right? No, we didn't. So we could have, oh, that looks big. And then we could have a stroke of what color are we using of this color, and then we could have it to be rounded. So let's just use 99,999. All right. So, yep. So we are going to change this to caption. So this is going to be a little, a little, a little. So this is going to be caption, and this is also going to be reduced line height so as to have this. So another thing we could also do is we could put in a field of warning. So it's going to be surface, and it's going to be this. All right. So what I'm going to have here is going to be called verified listing in Lagos, so to say. All right, since that's what we're working with, and I'm going to what do I do? What do I do? So let's just duplicate this and then take this towards this end. And this is going to be Hawk. I'm going to remove this. No, not that. I'm going to remove this section and then just call this section browse all. All right. So this is what we do not need. So I think um caption is just the little size, the most smallest size of what we have here. So that is what I'm going to still use caption. Sorry, caption. So line heights, and then I'm going to put a underlined here, right? Because we want it to show. So over here we are going to give it um another line height. No, not really. Anyways, we could use this. That still works though. So few, not few though. But what do I do? So let's uh and this has to be down, and this has to be now fuel container. This is going to be a hog, and we need this to also be hog because this is why that is not responding. This has to be hog too. And lastly, we need this to be hog. All right, so we've gotten that. So we need to move this. Sorry, we need to say 100. Okay, and align that. And then we're going to put this here. And do I need that? Do I need that? Okay, so let's just manually put that out here. Because once we put it in an auto layout, this is going to roughly work that out. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to take this outside here. And what I will do is I'm going to put this in a frame and then remove my rectangle because I don't use rectangle for cards. And I'm going to give this probably a 24 rough edge, and then let's fill it with something. So I'm going to fill it with probably this just for clarity's sake, just to see what I'm working with. And the way I want to design this is I will need a frame. Yeah, I love using frame though to actually put in an image. So I'm going to on the unsplash. And for the unsplash, first going to use an house. All right, so let's just pick the house and then let's go down. Let's pick this. All right, so I'm also going to not pick anything because I just want to use one first. So this is what we're going to be working with. And the next thing I would also want to do is to put in the contents for which this has to be. And this is it. All right, so we're using 24. So I also have to use 24 here, but I'm going to use 24 top and 24 towards this end to come out. Because if I'm using it, it's going to have to take this down, but I want to keep this down straight as possible as I can. So what are the informations that I need on this part of it? So I need the name. So we're going to give it prior something like let's say a 3-bedroom flat. Okay. So they're going to call it so, and then I'm going to call it's going to be a header. So a 3-bedroom flat. So after a 3-bedroom flat, I'm going to have something like a location. Right, so we're going to have something like a location. So for this, the location we're using is going to be Lekki Phase 2. So for this, I'm going to change this to body and just going to roughly give it this. We'll work on that later. All right, so if I put this in an auto layout, I need something here. All right, so I'm just going to put this in an auto layout again. And then I'm going to search from this section. All right, let's see. This is assets. I think that's where we're looking at. So, location. Yep. So that's what I need. Did that come with me? No, it didn't. I don't think it did. So we're just going to bring this out, and then this is going to be hawk because I want it to be on one. Then this is going to be icon on action. And this is too big for this section, so we're going to go with something like 16, right? Just to make that look neat. And this is it. All right, so I'm going to, and then this not hot, it's going to be fill. All right, so I would want this to have a different color entirely. So this is going to be something looking a bit outside. But first, let's go use this. So this is bold, but we don't need something like that. You need something like regular. All right. So now, this gives me 48, 20. So it's going to be something like 16. I'll move it. So that's all. I think 16 will be fine. 24 is giving too much of a space there. Okay, so the next thing we might want to do is we would want to give it a rating, or just what have they done and the rest of the stuff, or we could also give it an information like what is included on this particular um on this particular information. So one of the things I would want to add to this is going to be a verification badge. All right, so it's going to be, I'm just going to put it at the top here. I would have just added a badge here though, but I think let's use some a text here for context. Text. So I'm just going to put this in an auto layout, and then this is 128. Yeah, it's 8 pixels we're using, so this is also going to be 8, and I'm going to fill it with a white surface. Let's use white for that. And this is going to be full. And this is just too much. So I'm just going to put it this way. And this is going to be, I just love this. So this looks a little bit more simple though. I'm sorry, we had to 1, 2, 3, 16, move it by that. And this still looks a bit small. So let's move it by 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 9. So this is perfect. So whatever we choose to do, it could be, let's say I used white here and I decide to use probably this at this section, and then I'm going to use verify. just going to type in that, and then just going to pick this up here, and then I'm going to change this to probably 16 or 12. Then 12 will be fine. So this is too big, so I'm just going to change this to 1, and then the line spacing here looks awkward. So this is perfect. All right, so 7, 7, remove that, and then we're going to change this to icon and action, and that is what we need. All right, so the next thing we could also do here is we could also try to give in details to what is there on the platform. So I'm just going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to take this out at the last time. All right, so this is going to be towards this, and it's fine, 24 is fine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate this, and then let's just move this by this, and then delete this section. All right, so I'm going to use a hawk principle here, and hawk. All right, so now in this section, it's where I would try as much as possible to tell what is in here. So I'm going to call this that there is a 3-bedroom, 3 beds. All right, 3 bedroom, 3 bedrooms. And I'm also going to probably talk about so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to duplicate this, and then let's give it up to AI to edit this. Yep. So I don't think I need this. So this is just fine, right? So this is just fine. Okay, so we just click here and click here, and then select, and then the next thing I would want to have is going to be one of the most important aspects of a website, which is a call to action button. All right, this is going to be a call to action button. So what does this do? I'm just going to paste it here and remove this. So this is just going to be this and this. I'm going to just change this to hub, right? Because, but just going to put this here and then change this to fill container. So it takes the whole container, all right? But it doesn't, because why doesn't? I don't think it does. Oh, I see why. So we need this to be same. So this is going to be 16. And why are we having a decimal here? You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to have that. So this is going to be field container. So this is field container, and this is where we have this. So I'm just going to no going to put that in the center. I'm still wondering why we have a decimal when we do not have a decimal inside of this. Anyways, okay, so over here we are going to tweak this. So this is going to be a white. So this is going to be like a primary, and our text is going to be like we're going to use something like action, and then our icons is going to be like the same action again. All right, so this is what we have. All right, so we could just go with it. That there are a lot of information we could also add to this. All right. Um, We could do something like this. So let's take this up. We're just going to duplicate this and take this up. So let's see, this is 16 and this is, sorry, this is 8. So I could also have something like this at this section. So I'm just going to say that in this we have probably 1/5. Okay. So this is one of the things we could also do here. So at this point, I could have is 2 here. All right. So we could also have 2 here. And then at this point, I would have something a little bit off. All right. I'm not supposed to do here. All right. So transparency, which has to do with probably not background blur. This would be nah. Anyways, let's just do it. I didn't want to go through this route though, but we just had to. So 30. So we could have something like this, and then I'm going to have a full rounded corner like this. So here is 9, 8, and here is also 8. So this is all of the things we could also introduce to it. So this tells that, oh yes, for this we have 5 images that shows what this is basically about. All right. Okay, so now that we're done with this, so we are just going to, because this was just how we wanted to see it, so I'm just going to turn this to a component and then take this outside, duplicate it, bring it back in, duplicate, put this towards this in, and also duplicate last, and then put this in, then put this back here. And what I'll do is I'm just going to remove this. No, let's allow it. And I'm going to turn this to an auto layout, and then here is going to be padding 100. So this is where we remove this to 0. Okay, so I put this here. All right, so this still does not solve this. This has to be down, straight down, and then I think this is basically too small. The accessibility there is poor. So we're going to select our text and then we would choose probably this. I think let's see how that looks. Let's wait for it to load. Okay, so uh, that's not bad, but I think it could be better. So let's use medium instead. And then this, we are going to change this text to, most times we could always have link, right, as, um, as, what do you call it? I think I'm really not into that stuff, but the color is too bright. So we are just going to, what am I seeing? Is that a blue? What I'm seeing there? Oh, okay, I think I know why. So now this is where this comes in handy. I'm not going to touch anything towards the other end. So imagine we have so many cards. So why should I go touch something at the other end? So what I'll just do here is so and that covers, I want to believe it's covered at the other end too. All right, so one of the things that we want to do is this the background. So I'm just going to change the text to what we have icon. Where did we give this icon? I want to believe it should be that up. So this is the section we want to work with. Icon action. Where the hell? Okay, I've seen where that is. So on our icons, we're going to have oh, we're using this. No, this icon. Okay, so I don't think we make progress for that. So we're going to use disabled for that. Okay, we use disabled, and then for icon primary, think okay, that's this, and text primary, that's that, and surface primary. We're going to use where are we even using that? So for this section, we are going to change that to body, and I'm going to change this to header, and this as perfect as we would have it. Okay, so for the text, we'll go with the disabled. Do I have a disabled option here? Do we? So that it matches this. Okay, same thing with this. So text body, blah blah blah. And so I'm going to go with disabled so as to match. All right, so at this end, our surface we are using white. Interesting, I'm going to go with action, and our text is going to head back to um an action, and so will our hmm, text surface icon primary. So will our icon too. So if we go to the design to see how that looks, okay, that's fine. But we are having a bit of what looks like standing on its own. So how do we solve that is by adding a stroke. And I wish we do have a subtle stroke here that we could use. So border, we don't. So action, is that giving? Is that giving? Is that giving? Let's see on our design. Yeah, let's wait for it to load. Load. I'm so sorry about that. So we had a network issue. Okay, so I think that could be the reason why this thing did not load. So house, just going to roughly pick where it loads, and then pick this. All right, so it would also I want to try something here. So plus contents, house details. All right, so that is so I think you have to be consistent too. I wonder why Figma did that. I think it's view details we used, right? Yeah, I think view details is perfectly fine. Or yeah, view details is perfectly fine. So let's just see, let's see how that comes up. Hopefully that loads. Okay, so I think our border is bordering. And another way we could actually do this is by removing this border. We could do something like we could do it this way. We could add a fill, but our fill is going to be something outside the box. What do I mean by that? Is going to be something like of what is there already. So what do we have here? We have white here. Okay, we have white here, so it's going to be taking that. So we could have something like that'll be too obvious. That'll be too obvious. Okay, so we could have something like think a pure white itself. So instead of using the border, we could decide to use something like this. All right, so let's look at the responsiveness of it. We've done a lot here. All right, so now let's look at the responsibility. So we're going to remember when setting this up is the first time is usually what takes time, what consumes time. All right, it takes time setting that up. But when once you are done setting it up the first time, the rest is a story. All right, so what I like doing is I'm just going to take this out here and then duplicate what I will use for the purpose of what we'll be working on. So the very first thing I will do is remember what we did. So this is going to be called breakpoint. All right, this is going to be a breakpoint. And if I should come to appearance and then right click here, sorry, come to appearance, my bad. Come to appearance at this section. If I come to appearance, I will see responsiveness and I'll choose desktop. And if I choose desktop, desktop is what is showing now. So if I can click here, if I move to this is what it is. So now what we want to do is we want to make it responsive as it's supposed to. All right, so we are going to do it section by section. All right. So first of all, this has to be in an auto layout. This automatically, this page has to be in an auto layout. It does not have to be in a frame. So we have to convert that to an auto layout by pressing Ctrl Alternate A. Sorry, Shift A. So if we switch this to mobile again, we can see it's starting to make sense. Starting to make sense because number one, you can see this comes up and this is not. All right, so what we have to do here is we will make this to be fill, which is fill, and this also has to be fill, which is fill already. And this too has to be fill. This has to be fill, but we don't want to make it fill. Why? Because for um for this section, we want to control how our text expands, all right? How it expands and how. So our maximum width is going to be this. Excuse me. And we are going to add a minimum width. So let's see if I should take this to so let's duplicate this. All right. And so hold on. With the that variables, is it going to? It's not going to know. Breakpoint. So I convert this to over. What happened? Okay. So this is what we'll be using. So, so for this section, so I'm just going to remove the marks here. I'm going to remove it. And then this is what we have. So we're having 428. So that's what we're doing. So 428 minus, say, 32, just to 32 in both sides. So let me use my calculator. So we are having 432 minus 32. 32, that will be 64. That will be 368. All right, so we are going to call our minimum, our minimum, at minimum to be 368. I hope I'm correct. All right, so when once it shrinks, so it's going to turn to 368 when once it is it's also going to be 7, it's going to be what it is. So minimum, maximum. All right, so this is going to be fuel container. So you can see that is giving us close to what we want. Okay, and this also we have to change it to fuel container. All right, so this is if I check this, this is going to give us yeah. Okay, so you can see that this adapts to what we gave it out there. I'm going to change this to white. This adapts to what we gave it. It's changing based on what we did before. All right, so this section here is this. So the reason why this is happening that way is because of how we use awk for it. So it should have been something like fuel container, and then from there we can now tweak it to be what it's supposed to be. But most times you can always do this separately. Okay, you can always do this separately. And I think this escape, this I don't know what happened there though, but so we are going to manually copy this and then replace this. Do the same thing. Okay. Uh, Remember when we designed this, we picked this content from the header, that's the buttons there. So the reason why this is not showing is because on this section we did attach this to our buttons to um a particular nav button. So we have to remove it if we want this to show. And sorry, yeah, we have to remove that and then manually make this to show. So the same thing with this. So yeah, I think that has gone out. Okay, so this works. And I think it's the same thing with our button here, which we also did get from that part of life. Okay, so we'll also make this. So over this, we are going to also make this to be fuel container. And at this point, we have not, let me see. I don't think this has been given a um proper scaling. I don't think it has. Okay, it has not. So this all container is what carries, it does not even carry it. Padding. Okay, we're doing it based on this section. Okay, so padding. Hmm, padding. And this has to be removed. So this has to be 0. Okay, so for our padding here, what are we having? Um, we are having a little bit of a challenge at this end. Okay, yes. Okay, I think this is where we're supposed to even add that padding, not at the other end, at the other end. So let's see what happened there. Why is it this that is showing? So we're going to click this out and then we're going to add our padding. All right, so this is what it is. So we're going to remove this because this is not what it is. All right, so this is how this comes up. You can see our image here are shrink. So we can always check that. All right, so I will put this to fill. All right, so that has to be fill so that we don't want it to shrink. All right, so I can see that this also works well. This also works well. Everything we need for. And so this section is what we want to work on. So if I should click here and then move this to desktop, this is still maintained. But we are having a challenge that at this point, this is what um, it is, right? We don't want it to be this big. So we want it to have a little bit. So we are going to call it 420. So my maximum width is going to be 420. So we don't want it to escalate than that. So let's test that. If I should come down to mobile, this is in field, right? This is in field. Then if I should move out of this, sorry, if I should move out of this to desktop, so this does not pass that, and that is exactly what we want. Okay, so on this section, this was attached, so this changes too. So, but what we need here is going to be this. All right, we want it to have a grid so that it's a grid is like fluid design. We talked about that. So it's like fluid, all right, fluid adaptive layout. All right. So if we should switch this to a mobile, we should switch this to a mobile, and then so why this is not working is because we need this everything inside of it to be in an auto layout, which I think it is, right? I think it is. So what we need to do at this point is we need this not to be hawk, but to be field container. So we are going to move from here to desktop and why are we having this much space here? This is going to be field. Hold on. This is kind field. So we move it to hawk, and so that means we are having more of a problem here. It could be something is down there. What could be? Why are we having this space? I'm not supposed to have that space. I'm not supposed to have that space. Here down. No, we need this in an auto layout. So use auto layout. Hold on. I need to sort this out. Something is not hard enough there. So we should set fill, hawk, then fill, and this is in fill. All right, and this also is in fill. This should also be in fill. Okay, this also should be in fill, not fill though. Let's see. What do we have? How do you? Well, we're still having a little bit of a challenge here. So if I should click the entirety of this, I think where we are having a challenge here could be, let's see, what could cause that? What could cause that? The entirety of this is field container. which is supposed to shrink. If I click this, okay, if I click this, let's use this instead. All right, so if I move here, so this is actually working a bit, but something is not hard enough there. So remember, it happens, all right? This is in fill, which is supposed to be in fill, right? Supposed to be in fill. Let's try Hawk, but I don't think Hawk is going to solve that problem. I don't think it is going to solve that problem for us. It's not going to solve it. Okay, so the challenge we're having here is that we need this to shrink when this moves. Okay, and I think the major concern is towards this end, and I don't know why scale has been marked. That think this field is going to still the same thing. This is 24, 24, and this is yeah, I think there is something that is here that we've not seen. There is something holding this because why am I having this big space? Why? Why am I having this big space? So we have four contents here. So if I should expand this, I hope we have four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three. Well, that makes sense too because of what we did there. Anyways, let's see how that works again. Sorry, not you. We're trying to achieve that, but it seems it's not working and it's going to take most time that we're supposed to have for this. So let's switch down to this other end. All right, so for this section, this has already been attached. So, and we notice that that is not doing what it's supposed to do. That's not working where it's supposed to work, and this is going to be fill container. And this has to shrink. It has to. So if we should move down from desktop to mobile, so this is exactly what we want. All right, this is exactly what we want, but something is not hard enough. So this has to be fill container. Okay, it has to be fill container. And the entirety of this has to also be field container, which it is. All right, which it is. But I think this whole background has also to be field container. And I think this the situation we are having here is that when once this is not working, okay, this has to work. Okay, let's see. That this a section here will actually affect another section. Okay, to actually affect another section. So, and what do we have here? Changes to zero. I don't know what that is. So this is field, and this is also should be field container. Let's see. Field. This is field. So, on this section, we are going to define for this. I want this image to show. Okay. I want it to show. There's also a tendency that, oh yes, we don't also want it to show when we are working on like when we move to remember when we talk about adaptive layouts, responsive layouts, fluid layout, which of the situation do we want to use at this point? Is it adaptive? Do you want it to be adaptive? Depending on the screen you're using, or do you want it to be responsive, or do you want it to be fluid? All right. That is, we tell it to, this is a container. This is the container, right? This section here is a container. If I should add it to a frame, this is a container that carries this. So we could tell that this, it should take, let's say, 50% of the container of a, a, a mobile, all right? If it's to change this to a mobile, what is the minimum, maximum it should have, and the rest of them. Excuse me. So we could go through that route. There are different routes we could go through this to actually attain to reach the fact that if we should switch from this to this and this works perfectly fine. All right. So, well, first of all, we need this to be fuel container. And this is affecting this top side. I'm wondering why. So I think we basically need to use fuel container in all first. Then with that, we'll be able to, and this is increasing. This is serious. I'm wondering why this is increasing. This is increasing as we proceed. So we are having a challenge at this point, at this particular section here, and this is not good. I'm still trying to figure out why that is that. Okay, trying to figure out why that is that. Let's see. So I'm just going to call this, let's give an a height to this. There's a bit space in there. Okay, so let's see what is going on here. At this point in time, okay, so we're going to roughly readjust this. So another thing we could do here is we are going to take into consideration the height and the width. So for this, we have height here. So we could attach a variable that says height 605. Okay, we will attach this. So I'm just going to come to our variable, and then under responsive, I'm going to use responsive for this. Under responsive, let's the spacing. So I'm just going to duplicate this duplicate group and then call this image. All right, so and then let's keep one. I need to delete this. So for you, I might decide to name this about image, about us image. And this could be also about us image. about us. Okay, about image or image, however you want to use it though. Height. This could be all right. So um where have the image gone to? I think we mistakenly deleted it. Yeah, we did. Okay, so I think we'll have to set up our component again from scratch. Image, I think that's how we deleted it since we pressed delete. So image, this could be, we could call this one um height, then width. Okay, so for this section, so this is what we're using. For our height here is 605. So for our height for desktop, we press 605, and the width is 507. So we do the same thing, 507. So if we should take this image and then take for an example, let's use this to take for an example, we move this to mobile. Let's click this again to padding, and not padding, to breakpoint. Okay. So take for example, we use this here. So how do we want our image to be? If I use our scale and then minimize this. So this is probably between let's say 3343. So for our mobile, our width is 343, and our height is probably let's say 410. Think that's going to be fine because this is 1 degrees. So one of the things we could do is we could come here and then in this process we applied, we say height, and then we scroll down image height, this, and on this section too, we could do the same thing with, and then we apply. So if we should move from here to, this is another method we could try. So you can see that our image has already done the needful. It has shrink to a to what we call it for this. So the only challenge now we have is we need to make it show very well. And this is where we press fill, and well. We're still wondering what's going on here. What's going on here? So this is working, and this should also work. Your container. Hmm. This usually take a while to because of most times when designing you do not use the correct like terms of auto layout and the rest. And I think we did mess up there a bit. All right. So another way we could define this is we could call this out. So we used auto here, but what if we don't use auto there? What if we decide to give it a number, say 200, so you can see what happened there. When once you reach 200, it's hard to collapse. So let's say we decide to use this, is still auto. This is 200, and it will move, let's say 88 plus 24. That's still giving plus 24. It's still giving a 5 or what's there. Anyway, so this is 136. So I could copy this and all and then apply variables and let's see what we have. No, it's not going to be here. It's going to be towards this section. So we have 128 there. So that if we should switch down to our mobile, so this works. All right, so you can see some parts of this coming out well, and which is exactly what we want it to do a bit. So, but we are still we're still having some challenge there. So I think the major challenge here is we should be able to fix this first. Because if this is not working, if this is not working, therefore that is not going to work because peradventure, let's say, let me take this, sorry, let me take this outside. Peradventure, we're supposed to have a different whole design like this. So if this is not working, then that is not going to work. Take for example, we shrink this. We're supposed to automatically have that work in this way, but it is not working as it's supposed to. Okay, so what could be the cause of that? Well, it is as simple as this. Things that do cause that is that how did you use your field, your hawk, and the rest of the stuffs? Okay, so and I think we did not use it properly as we're supposed to. So, and that could be the reason for this. So, so that we don't waste time, I think we've already spent so much time here. All right. So one of the things I'm going to do is we're going to, so that's one of the ways we could also make it responsive. All right. So another way we would want to make this responsive is, I'm just going to delete this and then generally I'm going to take this to be um, my complete mobile. All right, so I'm going to take this towards this end. So how I do like doing this is I do like having this at my far right. So I will be looking this, then looking at this. So what I'll do is I'm just going to generally click out here and then remove this from auto layout because I want to manually work on this. Okay. So, one of the things you could also do is to select this and then click all, sorry, select this and then Control A to select all and then move them out. Okay, so we'll be working on each of the screen. So just so that we finish up and then you can see how this looks like on the responsiveness part of it. Okay, so this is going to take a longer screen. So what we can do here is we're going to view this and you see, you can see what happened today because we did not use the right thing. All right, so that's majorly why we're having those challenges that we did. Right, we're supposed to have make sure we use the right tools for it in terms of this is for the of and I think this is majorly where the challenge was. I don't think I know this is majorly where the challenge was. Okay, so at this point we're going to be using this. Okay, we're going to be using this, and I would also press this because we would be we would be dividing it from. So most of these things you can always do it. You just have to do it manually. Okay, you just have to do it manually because once it goes, um, it goes. Well, if that makes sense, I don't know. All right, so this is this. So we're going to put this in the center alignment. Okay, so just going to probably click here and copy this line. All right, so we're having too many spaces here, which is not supposed to be so, but it is so, because it is so though. And I think one of the ways is we could make this to be a four-way, because we don't want to have custom users scroll so long a time before they could see what they're looking for. So what I mean is we could have this way, and then we could also have this way. So we could have it this way. All right. So we are going to, because this is a mobile, so we are going to reduce this to probably something like 16. And this is going to be something like hog. All right. So center aligning. So we could now bring this inside of this. So this is going to be towards this end. So we could do have same thing for this. So we're going to break this down and then change this to 8. Or we could just remove it entirely. That space there is even still too much. So um this could be 16 too. This one I just even have to remove it. No, let's make it 16. So that this will also work too. Okay, so 16 too. So we have this. So we might also have a need to separate it from this other end. So this is where this comes in. And I would just press it there. All right, so we could just press view container and probably reduce this to something like 300. And then when we select our side, so we could put that in a center alignment. So that depends though. Yep, that depends though. So we could still generally remove that, which still makes sense. The point. So okay, so this is going to be changed. This is also going to be changed. Utility view is also going to be changed. And we're going to also have this to be changed. Okay, so at this point, we could, what do we call this location? And this is going to be verified. So, but this table verified. Okay, so now we're done with this other part of it. So what we could do is we will just manually take this down here and then make sure it is this way. Excuse me. So the next part we want to do is this section. All right, so we'll just take this in here and remove it from auto layout. So we could put this back in an auto layout since we are done. Remove it from auto layout and then press this. So what? Okay, put this out. 3. So this is what we're going to do, and we are going to put this down and remove this from auto layout too. Okay, and then I'm just going to roughly put this and then use K to minimize this so that it still maintains this proportion. And no, that's all we need. So this is going to be, what was the screen size we're using? 428. Okay, so I'm just going to call this 428. Then put this down here. All right, so we can see that is coming up. but we are having a little bit, we're not using K here. All right, so we will put this in an auto layout at once so that we are fast about this. So this is in field, this is also in field, and this is also in field, and this is in field. So what is remaining here is to give it that layout that it needs, which we are going to use 24. Sorry, which think let's use 24 instead. Yep. So one of the things to also do here is to make this to be not really field container though. So let's remove this. I think I'm seeing what might have caused most of those stuff. Because tell me why this is here. Why is that here? Oh, okay, so that's the button, and it's turned into because we were using this. But anyways, that's still fine. And I see this. Ah, God, I can see what really happened there. Some of the things we had it was not supposed to be there. But since while we design, we were trying to work on something together to make it faster. That's majorly one of the things that happened. So, one of the things you should also decide to do is where does your image go to when it comes to mobile responsiveness? How does it work? Do they first of all see your picture first, or do they see the image or the write-off first? Personally, I love putting my images first, but you can also do the same. So, however, I'll always advise before you do anything, make sure you have um you have your prototype ready. Okay. Let's click outside. So no devices. So we're using 428. All right, so this is what we'll be using. So we just have to test, not over there. Let's go back to design. So let's test and see how that shows when it comes to. All right. So this is a section I am concerned about. So let's see if we are using this for that. How does it work? So this is it. Yeah, and I think this makes sense. All right. So but we are having a little challenge here, which this is too big for a mobile. All right. So this is okay. So 14. That's anyways. I'm still wondering what is here. Something is disturbing the progress of this. So I'm going to use Hawk. Okay. So that is it. So we're just going to continue. All right. So the next one is this. All right. So we're just going to remove it from auto layout, and then this is going to be 428. I hope I'm correct. Yes, I am. All right, so and then we're going to push this down, and I really don't know what's going on here. So we'll put this aside. We'll come back to you. So let's push this down. And this has to be Hawk, so has to take it up. And this, we're going to now use our scale and then scale it down to fit into a mobile application, or so a mobile screen. All right, so after which we can now put it back in, sorry, this is outside. So let's click here and then put it into where it belongs. Right, so we've pasted back that this, put it in another layout, and this have come to change my entire design. Okay, so interesting. So I see. So this was 428, which is still 428 that we working with. And this is giving me that vibe of decimal points. So this is few we're using here. And few. So we need to call on this. Okay, so we need this few here. And this is going to be something like 24. So we have to be consistent with what we are using. So once you are done, you can always come back, check what you used. Did it match with what exists on the other end? Right? If it doesn't, then you have to um, do it by yourself. Okay. Yep. And this way too. Yep. Okay. So let's see. Do we have this more? Yes. So we're going to change that to 430. We need to remove all decimal. So you're going to use 48 here. All right, so we can always scroll down to see how that looks. And that is perfectly fine. So we'll do the same thing for this section. So I'll just duplicate this and then take this down here. Because it is basically one of the things that we are still working with. Just the write up and just the write up and the image that is going to change at this point. Right, so at this point we can do anything to this image because we've already gotten what we needed at the other point. So we could just press here. All right, so we've gotten what we needed, so blah blah blah. All right, so that is this. If I put this up here, anyways, let's just remember that because we're going to do that. So what I like to do is anytime I'm done with whatever I'm doing, I like deleting them out because I don't want any challenge. I just want to be sure I are finished with some things I'm supposed to do. Okay. This guy is stubborn. Okay, so the next one we are working on is this section. So we need to push this down. So how do we push this? Hold your control. Um, okay, we are having a challenge now because it is in scale. So everything we press in scale, we'll be doing scumbia. So we'll have to press our V to return to the normal point, and then we can now proceed with this section. So I'm just going to duplicate it and then put it here. Mm. All right, so we are going to call this 428. Then we aligned it, and then this is 24. That's fine. So I'm going to manually adjust this, and then this is going to be it's in field. So what is keeping it? Okay, so this is going to be field container. This is a field container height. It is not field container. What this is also. So this is how this is going to be. This is how this is going to be. We could also choose to go the same way we did at this point so that we don't give customers or users scroll fatigue. All right. So we don't give users scroll fatigue. But because of time, because imagine this just fooling your screen. That's giving some kind of vibes there. Okay, so beautiful. So we could go through that route, and I'm just going to use a short route to that. So I'm going to use a scale tool to reduce that. But that is wrong, please. So if you are doing yours, do not do that. Don't do that. Okay, so they will go back to our this, and then this is going to be fill, and this is also going to be fill. So I can just select this and then move this to the side, and do the same thing here and move it to the side. All right, thereafter I can select the two of them and then put this in fuel container. Then we could do the same thing to all of them and then put it in a fuel container. But that doesn't still change the content. So we'll do the same thing here and then put it in a fuel container. So one of the things we could also do at this point is to reduce this, but we can't work on that. Why? Because it's an instant. So we'll have to, my bad, we'll have to remove this and then roughly just going to call this 19. So this is going to change here. So I'm just going to change this here and then call this 56. All right. So over here, we're going to change this to probably something like 24, 24, which is still too big or still too small. So this is going to be something like 24. So yeah, 24 still looks too circle. It, yep. So it's going to be something like 12. So it's so 8 is fine. 8 is fine. So we'll do that's 56. So I just have to remove this. So we'll press your scale key and then call this 56. It will automatically change in this side of it to 56. So what did we use of 8? So we used 8 to 8 here. Then center aligned it. Then this is going to be fill and this is going to also be fill. So same thing here, dashed. Just going to select the two at once. And then what are we doing first? So I'm just going to change this to 90. Same thing remains here. K, right? No. So this is 8 and this is 8. And this is going to be what is that? 12. And it's not. This is going to be 12. All right, so what else are we doing here? 56, 56, 56. All right, so that's basically going to be that. This is still loading up because this has not yet work. Can always refresh. I don't think that has worked yet. Okay, so now that has come up, that has loaded up. All right, so this will be changed to 48 just to have that. Anyways, the last thing we also want to do is let's break this to be hawk and to be hawk, and this is going to also be hawk. All right, so the last thing we could is this section. All right, so this is going to refer to it. Align it. So I think this is always going to, this is usually the most simplest form of this, all right? Because so let's just expand this. All right, so going to this is this, and this is going to be this section. So you can see, like I said, this is usually the most usually so this is not how we want this to be. This is going to be hawk, all right? So we are going to drop this and we're going to remove this probably to 24 or there entirely itself and put this Well, we are supposed to see this at the end. Okay. So this is this, and this is going to be fuel container. And I'm going to select this again, and this is going to be fuel container. And select this again, and this is going to be this should also be a fuel container. Unfortunately, that's a component, so we all we could do is to select all and then remove it from being and select, and select. So okay, so there we go. So we are having a challenge here because I think since we're working with what we took from the other components, all our button has run away. So I think this is a section where our button is, and so if I press Ctrl Alternate A, okay, it's not working. To select, to be able to select all. Unfortunately, that did not work. Okay, so all right, so I think this is where we are going to stop. So that's how to do the responsiveness. So it is also possible that, oh yes, while you were designing, you felt like this image here was not important. So you could remove it and you could just have this text. And that's how responsiveness works and the likes of it. So we would think that's going to be. We'll also look at a new topic in our next class. So that will be all for today. If you have any question, please do to drop it on the community. And bye bye. Have a nice night rest.